evening, I'd like to call to order the Concord Township Board of Trustee meeting for Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mr. Rose, are you calling the roll?
I'm sorry. Yes, as soon as I get the camera out of the camera, I apologize.
See, we're all out of whack with
I know.
our fiscal officer here calling the roll.
No boy. Wait till she hears that.
I am ready.
Mr. Rose, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Mr. Dondorfer.
Present.
Mrs. Lucci.
Present.
Mr. McIntosh.
Present. Okay, and with that, approval of the minutes from March 17th, 2021, I guess.
Make a motion to approve the
You weren't
minutes.
here.
Oh, I think it's.
You can't make the motion.
I move that we approve the March 17th, 2021 regular trustees meeting minutes.
And I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
One abstention. Okay, fiscal officer report. Amy Dawson is not in town. She's on vacation, but Mr. Rose has the fiscal officer's report. So, Administrator Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Treasurer's report from the fiscal officer, as of March 31st, we were 25% of the way through the calendar year. The treasury balance for the 18 active funds within the township treasury was $7.8 million. We received the first half 2020 real estate taxes last week. The treasury balance includes $1.4 million in funds set aside for specific projects. This does not include working capital. Year-to-date revenue is 12% of the annual budgeted resources and expenditures. Year-to-date revenue is 12% of the annual budgeted resources, and expenditures were 12% of the treasury balance for 2021, so we are well within budget. If anyone has any questions, please contact the fiscal office at 440-354-7516. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rose. Trustees, Mrs. Lucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to start out by thanking our first responder team. We've been getting some letters from residents about pretty much saving their lives and how grateful they are. Letters from our health district thanking you for your services with the vaccine distribution. You know, that we are so thankful for you and your service. We are so lucky to have what you do in our township. So thank you. It really means a lot. You know, safety is extremely important. I also want to thank Ms. Deb Esker and her rec team for putting on a very nice Easter bunny hop throughout the township. It was another great turnout. And it was great seeing a lot of our local businesses here participating. I want to thank Mr. Joe Amandi, who's been making Easter eggs for the past 8 years. Volunteers and hands them out. So great community support, community effort. Really appreciate that. So this week I had some discussions with residents regarding some new developments, new businesses in the area. Same questions about Lucky's, you know, when is the ice cream store coming? Lots of good, exciting stuff for Concord, and it's that time of year where it's nice and warm out, so we got to raise some safety and concerns and awareness regarding driving in the streets. You know, a lot of questions about speeding and how we can curtail speeding when the kids are out on their bikes, and so kind of raising awareness again with that. I also had a resident who had some questions about ATVs in neighborhood streets, go-karts, dirt bikes, and we sort of looked at, you know, maybe some of the legal ramifications of that. Maybe Mr. Dondorfer can, or our sheriff here can comment on that. Again, you know, we're worried about, you know, hitting these kids on these bikes, not paying attention. They're not paying attention to traffic signs, so that's a real concern, and so we appreciate the residents who are bringing up those issues. We had a busy staff meeting. We were looking at our RFQs for our owner's rep, and so I spent a lot of time kind of looking at all those, and so look forward to moving forward with that process. And with that, that's it.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Lucci. Mr. Dondorf.
Okay, I would also like to echo Mrs. Lucci's comments as far as our first responders. Thank you for all the great work you're doing out there, law enforcement and fire, collaborating, working well together. We've always had a great relationship with the Sheriff's Office, and that continues. We do have excellent safety services here. Deb Esker and your team, thank you. Just an outstanding Easter egg drive-by. I mean, I saw from the time it started, what it was, 10 o'clock to 12? From the time I saw it start till the time it ended, there was just wall-to-wall cars all the way down till I couldn't see anymore. So great event. I got some calls and some people that I ran into out and about through town that said what a great event it was, that had attended it, and their kids enjoyed it. So thank you for what you do for Concord. Yeah, you know, as the weather breaks now, everybody's had cabin fever, you know, being in for the winter, and everybody's out and about, getting out in their yard a little bit more, breaking out the ATVs, the go-karts, and the dirt bikes, and that's all good and well as long as it's done safely and you follow the law. And I know we're fortunate tonight to have Sergeant Falvio, I believe he's going to expound on that a little bit, but you know, not to steal his thunder, but you know, as far as go-karts and dirt bikes go, private property is great, but they should not be on a public roadway. You know, I had some calls about those type of vehicles crashing stop signs in residential areas and driving recklessly, and we don't want to see anybody get hurt. I've seen those type of accidents, so we would ask you to please, you know, be responsible when you're enjoying your recreation vehicles and things of that nature. I know Sergeant Fowley is going to talk about the ATV laws when he comes up to do his report. Drove by Lucky's on the way in tonight. There's work going on inside there. I saw some guys coming out, so that is in process, as well as the Crowell Road project. Again, you know, we've had some dialogue on this before about how it was slated for last year, but COVID sort of put a damper on that, and it's coming up here this spring. And I want the residents to know that we are working very closely with the engineer's office to make sure that that road project does not interfere with the opening of Lucky's, and we're excited about the pending opening of Lucky's. I did have a call from a resident in Concord Township regarding some water drainage that was coming from a neighbor's, apparently more than likely an external hose coming from a sub pump that was draining onto the property, causing saturation in the front yard. I wasn't aware of it, but I guess the Lake County Health District has an illicit water drainage entity that will come out and investigate things of this matter, and they're working with myself and the board and the resident and a couple other residents to alleviate that problem. So we're working on that. I would like to remind people, with everybody coming out now too, these were always the times at the Sheriff's Department that we got calls of, you know, shots being fired or people target practicing on their property and things of that nature, because everybody's getting out a little bit more. You know, again, goes back to safety. You know, if you're discharging a firearm or weapons, I have a problem with that, but it has to be done in a safe manner. You have a lot of responsibility when you do that. You know, Concord in some areas is not as rural as it used to be. We have a lot more development, so you have to be cognizant and considerate of your neighbors if you're doing that. You have to make sure you have an appropriate backstop. You know, if you don't have an appropriate backstop, it's unsafe. If you have questions about a backstop, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to the Sheriff's Department. We have qualified people that are certified instructors with OPATA that can come out and determine whether or not your backstop is appropriate. We want to ensure that, you know, if you're doing that type of activity, it's done safely. So again, we have no problem with it, but we want to make sure that, you know, nobody's property gets damaged and everybody does so safely. So we're working on a couple concerns with some residents in Concord on that, that I took some calls on. Outside of that, it's been busy. We've had a lot going on. We've reviewed in the last week and a half. We've received 10 requests for qualifications for owner's rep to assist us in the fire station project. It took several readings and a lot of copious notes to sort of digest each company's proposal. So we've all worked diligently on that. So it's been busy, but we're working well, and we hope everybody's enjoying the nice weather.
Thank you, Mr. Ondorfer. I've been busy as well. I've had a lot of contact with residents. First, I'd like to also add that the bunny trail was great. We did Halloween last fall. It was a lot of fun. This year or this spring, it was a little more enjoyable because it wasn't quite so cold. So that was great. Again, thank you to Deb for putting that on. It was great. Your staff and everybody getting that together for us was a lot of fun, and it's so rewarding to see the community come out for something like that, and it's just great to see the kids and the families really enjoying it. It's nice to have that interaction. We all attended the Riverside school board meeting. We were invited and asked to give a township update, so that was nice as a new board to interact with their board. I had an opportunity to go to a legislative breakfast with Administrator Rose and I were both on a virtual breakfast with we had Congressman Joyce, Senator Brown, Representative Callender was on that. It was very interesting to talk about different things going on there. One of the things I think is unfortunate or whatever, but the American Recovery Act that was passed, the big stimulus thing that the Congress just passed, and if those that don't know, townships are not included in that. So at this point, as required by law, Concord isn't necessarily looking to receive those funds. I know the Ohio Township Association, just about every legislator, including both of our senators at the federal level, are advocating that they try to rework that. It was a version from the House to the Senate that somehow excluded that, and so they're looking at working it back in. Short of that, I also know there's some talk at the county level about how Lake County, if that doesn't happen, might work with the townships. So that's sort of a up in the air thing right now, but I felt residents probably would want to know that. I also had seen the letters that the other trustees had, and the fire department has been very busy and doing some great life-saving things. I also know that the fire department has been doing a lot of the COVID vaccinations, so those guys have been really busy. We got some letters, a letter about a resident concerned about a illegal turn or a dangerous turn at the top of Girdle Road and Keystone there, and we did have a fatal accident last fall over there, and that wasn't due to an issue with the left-hand turn. That was a centerline infraction, but so we're aware of that, and in combination with the traffic study that was going on last fall following that accident, I'm sure we'll be having dialogue with the county about what we're doing. That is a county road. Concord can only advocate at best to do something there. Did also get a call from a resident, and then in turn requested some extra patrol at the Auburn Road and 44 interchange over there in front of the Red Hawk. I guess the illegal U-turns there. Make the left off, the former left off of Cryle Road has become a problem again. I know we're hitting up patrol, and maybe the sheriff's department will give us an update on that. So that's something to encourage the residents. You know, that change was made, and it wasn't made to make people's lives inconvenient. It was made for safety reasons and for traffic flow. And so we really encourage people to, all of our lives have been impacted by that, and just to follow the traffic regulations and use that interchange appropriately. Had a JED meeting a couple weeks ago. JED revenue has been flowing pretty steadily. We are within dollars of the JED revenue through 21 as we were in 20, and still substantially over where the JED was just a few years ago. Last year's year to date was 314,000 and change, and this year was 317, and if you go back to 18, it was only 256. So the JED's continuing to grow, and we haven't seen a fall off economically based on COVID. So that's very encouraging, because that's a nice healthy part of the township's budget. Continue to get calls about the fire station project in Lucky's. Every morning when I go to work and I drive down 44 and I look there, the parking lot is full of construction workers. So that's really great, and they are headed towards an open. So I know they're sort of letting us know they think it's going to be in July, so that's great. With that, we will move into our department reports and start with Administrator Rose.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh, members of the board. Good evening. Item C on tonight's agenda is a vote to accept all bids for stone, asphalt, concrete, and limestone. We do this every year. These bids set the price for the upcoming season and were reviewed by the service director and myself and found to be appropriate. We received bids from Osborne Concrete and Stone, Cuyahoga Asphalt Materials, and Kokosing Materials. So I request a favorable vote to accept all bids on item C. Item D on the agenda is to award the mowing and landscape maintenance contract for township properties. These are the bids that were read on the record at the staff meeting. So I request a favorable vote to award that to Lake Erie Shores Contracting at the appropriate time. As the board is aware, over the past 10 days, I've been working very closely with Congressman Joyce's staff on some community funding requests. That is the what used to be called earmarks years ago that Congress has brought back this year. And instead of calling them earmarks, they call them community funding requests. Unfortunately, after much discussion with Congressman Joyce's staff and then some additional calls to the USDA, we don't qualify to submit for any of these funds. There's a condition that's outlined in the Code of Federal Regulations. It places a median household income threshold on this type of funding that was baked in by Congress. We are well above the qualifying median household income, and so we're not eligible for consideration on this round. But I guess the purpose of this is, the congressman's staff was, I didn't speak to the congressman, but I mean, his staff was fantastic. They were very responsive to our questions. They assisted me. We were looking for alternative ways to try to meet some type of the funding, but in the end, it didn't work. But I appreciate and I was talking to the folks in DC, and I just appreciate their willingness, to assist the local communities in trying to find these needed dollars across the board. And so hats off to Congressman Joyce and his staff. The conceptual plan for the stormwater issues at Sara Lee and Cali that I mentioned that the last meeting is still pending. We're waiting for easement language to be worked out with a resident before proceeding to finalize the plans. It's our hope that the language will be worked out by next week, and then we can move forward on the final design phase. It's April. April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. And I've talked to my friends over at Lake County Job and Family Services. During 2020, Lake County Children's Services responded to over 1,900 calls regarding children and their families. In some situations, children just could not be safely maintained in their homes. And that resulted in over 200 children being cared for either by foster families, adoptive families, relatives that lived outside of the primary residence, or other caregivers. So we'd like to thank Lake County Children's Services for providing this important need within our community. And I will have a resolution at our next meeting for your consideration to commemorate the National Child Abuse Prevention Month. The service director and I will be attending the bid opening on April 14th for the Crowell Road widening project. We want to watch the bid opening, and then we want to start some initial discussions with both the engineer's office and the contractor and start that dialogue. And we've also agreed to host the pre-construction meeting once that gets set up, once the bids are accepted by the commissioners. And finally, I will be out of the office on Monday, April 19th. I will be attending the executive committee meeting for Clout, so I'm hoping to get some solid updates on the township funding with the Treasury Department that everybody's been working on. So we're hoping to get a good solid update there and have some discussions. That concludes my report, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rose.
Thank you.
Fire Department, Chief Sabo.
Good evening, everyone. So for the month of March, we had a total of 196 events. 119 of those were EMS with 127 transports to area hospitals. We had 9 fire events. We responded to 4 structure fires outside of Concord. We had 2 grass or leaves fires outside of Concord that we helped with. We had 2 mulch fires in Concord and 1 brush fire in Concord that we responded to. We gave mutual aid 25 times and received mutual aid 6 times. From the Fire Prevention Bureau, they completed 66 inspections for approximately 159 hours. They did 2 plan reviews and participated in 4 hours of continuing education and training in the month of March. And they also participated in 2 fire investigations. From the fire prevention standpoint, they installed 2 residential lock boxes, which is really helpful when somebody calls 911 and can't get to the door to unlock it, whether they're not able to or whatever, but that gives us access to the house without doing damage, so it's very helpful. On the agenda tonight is a purchase order request for Motorola Solutions in the amount, I think it's just over $13,000. I just wanted to point out that $10,000 of that was a grant that was received from the State Fire Marshal's office. It's the Marks Grant. Concord Township Fire Department took the lead on this regional grant with all the Eastern Lake County Fire Departments, and each department received $10,000. So it was very, very good opportunity there. And it enabled us to get 4 additional portable radios. Nice. Rick, if you don't mind, please. I'm taking a lesson from Deb here, so she's helping me out. So, in terms of a safety message tonight, we urge anyone who is exhibiting signs and symptoms of a heart attack to call 911. What you see on the screen in front of you is a recent image of one of our patients. On the left is before treatment, and on the right is after. So this is an example of what happens when you're having a heart attack. And so far in 2021, we've responded to 4 heart attacks similar to this. In 2020, we responded to 7 of them, 7 heart attacks. We call them STEMIs. Our goal, working with the University Hospitals of Cleveland, is not from the time they get to the emergency room to intervention, but from the time the EMS providers show up on scene in their living room to intervention. And that has to happen within 90 minutes. So it is so important, I can't overemphasize this enough, to call 911 when you're having signs and symptoms of a heart attack, chest pain, shortness of breath, sweaty, whatever it is. And sometimes it's non-specific. A lot of times in female patients, we see the symptom of back pain more than we do chest pain. So we urge everybody to call 911. And why is that? Our EMS providers are trained in capturing electronical impulses from the patient on scene and we call those a 12-lead EKG. So we capture that, we transmit it to the hospital. In this case, this is an inferior wall MI, or myocardial infarction. The crew made contact with the appropriate receiving hospital, and in some cases, they're on the phone already with the cardiologist that's going to be treating that patient right from the patient's living room. So they're already starting that dialogue with the cardiologist. Our EMS crews can start appropriate medications and provide safe transport to the appropriate facilities. You know, a lot of times we hear about patients driving themselves to the hospital or having a family member drive them to the hospital. The problem is, first of all, safety. We can provide that safe transport and start treatment right away. And not every hospital has the same capabilities. So if you're having an event like this and you decide to drive yourself to a hospital such as TriPoint, TriPoint's not set up to deal with events like this. They do very well with the abilities that they have, but they are not set up to treat this. So they have to transfer the patient out. If you call 911, we are going to get that patient to the right facility as fast as possible and start treatment immediately. This patient experienced a 100% blockage of the mid-right coronary artery. So I urge again to call 911. Don't risk driving your loved one to the hospital. Call us, let us start treatment and get them to the right place. If I'm confident that in this case, if that patient would have gone by private vehicle to the hospital, this would not have been a successful outcome.
Chief, I know we have the letter that was meant that Mrs. Litchie mentioned. It's, I know she has a copy of it. I just think maybe now would be appropriate time. We'd like to read it for the record.
I'd love
Thank
to
you.
read it. Dear Chief, on March 16th, 2021, I suffered a heart attack at home and called 911. I was treated and transported to Geauga Hospital by your emergency rescue squad. As a former government employee, I know firsthand how often public employees receive negative and critical criticism regarding their work they perform. I wish to go on record that the response team that came to my house were instrumental in saving my life. Their quick response and medical attention were praised by my physician and his staff, which resulted in my having no permanent heart damage. As a result, I was able to walk out of the intensive care unit 23 hours later, looking forward to the future. I would like to personally thank Corey, Kyle, and Rich for all you did. What you do makes a difference.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well done.
That's great. Well done.
And that's all the credit goes to these guys that do this every day. And even when they're not performing these services for somebody, they're learning about it, they're training on it, they're educating themselves on it. The latest medicine changes every day, and we have to stay up on it, and we do. We're very aggressive when it comes to EMS, so, and it's because we love what we do, so.
Actually, before you go, I think Mr. Gondorfer has the letter we got from Ron Graham, so I thought we would like to also read that one for the record.
On behalf of the Board of Health and we would like to give a big thanks to you and your staff working tirelessly on the front line. Beside the health district, to vaccinate our Lake County residents, each of you not only represent healthcare or fire, but each of you also represent public health. To Chief Jim Powers, thank you for your countless hours helping support our response, and I will forever remember such a simple message that you sent via text: 22 agencies, 150 people, and one team. We are truly inspired by your commitment to making a difference in these challenging times. It was brought to my attention that we were ranked 4th in the state for percentage of residents vaccinated before today's clinic. As a direct result of your efforts, you are bringing families together, getting our precious children back to school, and our businesses back on track. And you are saving lives every day. It continues to be a pleasure for me to work beside you and for you as your health commissioner, Ron Graham. Just a true testament to our fire department and safety services commitment and dedication to public safety. So we really appreciate your excellent efforts.
I was able to attend the mayors and managers meeting last month with Administrator Rose and heard the coordinated effort. And I know that throughout, when they talked about doing the pods and moving around the county and doing all the different things, it was obvious that this was a massive undertaking. What kind of commitment did we specifically, how did we contribute to that?
So at the administrative level, Deputy Chief and I have participated with the Lake County Fire Chiefs in the logistics side of it, and assisting all the Lake County Fire Chiefs as we work with the health department to put these pods together, especially as we migrated over to what we call a mega pod. That letter that you read, Mr. Dondorfer, was right after our first mega pod at Mentor High School. Now we've transitioned over to Lakeland Community College. So the Deputy Chief and I provide support in terms of logistics to get things moving there, whether it's greeting people at the door. When people show up, a lot of them are very skeptical, they're nervous, they're scared, they don't know where to go, they don't know what to do, they don't know what to expect. So a lot of times that first face that they see is critical. And every step of the way, you can't turn a corner in these distribution sites without seeing somebody that can help direct and answer questions. And it's been tremendous. As far as the vaccinations, all of our EMS providers, or all of our paramedics, are, because the governor declared a state of emergency, we are allowed to give vaccinations. Normally, we are not allowed to give vaccinations as paramedics. So we are providing support, usually two EMT paramedics at each clinic to help give those vaccinations. At Mentor High School, we had 30 vaccination stations set up in the gym, and it takes absolutely everybody, so no one department is overwhelmed. So,
Awesome. Well, thank you.
And while they're saving lives, they're also escorting home our young man.
yeah, that was a fun event. Ashton Staton,
Oh,
we were able to
yeah.
welcome,
Thank
we
you.
were able to work,
That was cool.
Yeah.
there were so many people involved with that. The Lake County Sheriff's Office, us, the State Highway Patrol was invited. I'm not sure if they made it. Lake Metro Parks. I saw the marching band had a presence there, and just so many people. And we were so thankful to that family. I mean, I couldn't imagine going through what they did, but Ashton, he survived. He persevered through that, as did his family, and we're grateful to them for everything that they went through. I mean, I'm besides, I couldn't imagine what to say, but or how they're feeling, but it was good to have them home. So,
Thanks for
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, Service Department, Mr. Brown.
You got to follow that one, Tim.
There's no following that one. Good evening, everyone. The Service Department is currently starting up the construction season. Crews are out repairing snow plow damage, doing some ditch maintenance, curb inlet repairs, and preparing the baseball fields for the upcoming season. The yard waste drop-off is open to the Service Department and getting steady traffic. The drop-off will be open from 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Monday through Friday until June 7th this year. The drop-off will open again in the fall. The annual Brush Day collection will be Saturday, May 15th from 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Residents may drop off brush only, no lumber, landscape timbers, railroad ties, or tree stumps. The road resurfacing projects for 2021 are scheduled to begin the week of April 26th. Residents in the Cherry Hill, Fay Road subdivisions will start to see crews mobilizing. The projects are projected to be completed by the end of June. We remind motorists to slow down and move over when approaching crews working alongside the roadway. For residents with questions or concerns, feel free to contact us at 350-3225 or by email at concordtwp.com. Service Department wishes everyone a safe and healthy spring.
One quick question.
Yep.
Do you field any calls about the change in the brush collection?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we have fielded some calls as far as the yard waste collection.
Right, that's what I meant.
Residents are concerned that it's not going to happen this year as long, but we're trying to do that and continue our road projects and everything else.
I'll catch up with you offline about that one. I'd like to get a little
Okay.
more download. Thanks, Tim.
Yep. no problem.
Thanks.
Zoning Department, Mrs. Freeman.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
So the month of March has been fairly busy for the zoning department. We had issued 54 zoning permit applications and collected approximately $8,700 in fees. 10 of the permits were for new single-family dwellings, and we actually issued one new permit for a commercial building, medical building proposed on Auburn Road at 8003 Auburn Road. It's going to be about 5,800 square feet of new medical office space. So hopefully we'll see construction starting on that soon. Additionally, during the month of March, our office performed 106 site inspections for open zoning permits, and we followed up on 11 new complaints about potential zoning violations. Last night, the Zoning Commission met. They continued their work session on the microdistilleries and residential conservation development districts, and they also had a site plan review application that they conditionally approved for the Auburn Career Center, who's proposing an addition onto the west side of their existing industrial art building, which is located on the west side of Auburn Road, kind of adjacent to their horticulture building. Next week, the Board of Zoning Appeals will meet on Wednesday for their regular meeting. It's going to be a full agenda. We've got 5 new variances and 2 conditional use permits. That detailed agenda can be found on the website. And if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
Recreation Department, Deb Escamilla.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The Recreation Department is planning some fun and inviting programs for residents in April and into the summer. But before I tell you what's ahead, I'd like to take a moment to celebrate the township's recent Easter egg hunt and some contest winners. So PowerPoint, please, Rick. Oh, it's up there. There we go.
Not that powerful.
Nope, not
That one.
We've already celebrated that one.
Yeah. Thank you, Rick. No?
That's stubborn.
Let me try this. Yeah, oh, there we go. All right, thanks to all who participated in Concord Township's Bunny Trail Easter Egg Hunt. The weather was beautiful and the bunny ears were plentiful as residents and guests made their way throughout beautiful Concord Township in search of Easter eggs and treats. Thanks to our elected officials for their kind words tonight and gratitude and handing out really cool butterfly treats at Town Hall right along with the Easter Bunny and Trustee McIntosh's dog, the very well-behaved Cooper. I'd also like to give a shout out to Susie Cobb and Rachel Lamb who work with me in the Recreation Department who always make our events shine so brightly. Thank you so much. Thanks also to our, we're going backwards. There we go. Thanks also to our anchor partners who amped up the fun with festive decorations and contagious enthusiasm, including Concord Alliance Church, Vista Springs Assisted Living, St. Gabriel Church, Hope Ridge Church, and the Goddard School of Concord. And yes, that is Father Fred in the middle picture with the bunny ears, so fun was had by all. We'd love to get some resident input on their preferences for next year's Easter egg hunt, so look for questions on our communications platforms. Congratulations to Dawn Kolslovchar, who won Best of Show in Concord's 31st annual photo contest for her photo of her daughter entitled Ready for the World. Congratulations also to the Kovalchik family for making Concord's best snowman this year. Both winners took home big, beautiful trophies and bragging rights. Check out the complete list of winners for both contests still on the Concord Township website. Now, looking ahead to April activities, this month classes at the community center include martial arts for adults and children, pound, yoga Pilates fusion, baton twirling for kids, a stained glass butterfly class, a mixed media collage class, and getting ready for retirement. We continue to offer our family fun adventure kits every month, and in April our theme is How Does Your Garden Grow? And includes fun activities that encourages you to play in the dirt. You can register online at concordtwp.com or simply call the Recreation Department for personal assistance. Local historian and Old Stone School docent Dan Maxon hosts our next senior social on April 21st when he presents interesting and little-known facts about Concord Township in his presentation called You Might Be from Concord If. And then on April 28th, local entertainer Susan Canavino will captivate our 55-plus group with fascinating and funny stories about past presidents and their families in her presentation called Behind the Front Door. And this was rescheduled from today. She couldn't make today's presentation, so we're rescheduling it to April 28th. Both presentations are in person, but guests can also participate via Zoom if they wish. Pre-registration is required, and seniors are encouraged to call the Recreation Department for assistance with participation or any questions. The Community Center will host another Red Cross blood drive on Monday, April 12th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. There are a few appointments still available, so please consider signing up at redcrossblood.org. And if you've already received a COVID vaccine, you'll need to disclose the manufacturer of your dose to the Red Cross technician prior to donating, so just have that information handy. And this year, we welcome summer with open arms and some really great music. I'm thrilled to announce our summer concert series is back with 8 nights of music under the stars at the Gazebo, starting on June 17th and going through August 5th. The lineup includes the Pop-Tarts, Hip to That, Blue Evolution, Abbey Rodeo, the Blackjack Gypsies, Risk Factor, the Woodpeckers, and we wrap up the series with a very special DJ karaoke night. And this is not your average DJ karaoke night. This will include all kinds of special awards, activities, and a few surprises that you just don't want to miss. Our concerts are made possible by a generous grant from NOPEC and donations from Cometic Gasket, Accurate Landscaping, Barrington Homes Incorporated, the Thomas E. Pyle Insurance Agency, Chadwick Homes Incorporated, and William Nelson Dent DDS. Look for more information on the summer concert series coming in our future e-grapevines, our website, social media posts, all of our communications platforms. Shout out to 84 Lumber this month for donating treated lumber to be used in our community garden to create additional raised beds. We just need volunteers to build those beds now, so anyone interested in a great community project, please contact the Recreation Department. And we are also seeking additional sponsors for our summer concert series and seasonal events, as well as partners for our bicentennial activities next year. So anyone interested in becoming a sponsor or donor or partner, again, please contact us directly. And finally, the Recreation Department wishes all of our residents and friends a very happy spring. We look forward to celebrating soon and often. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you. And Concord Law Enforcement, Sergeant Falvey.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm Jerry Falvey. I'm a sergeant with the Lake County Sheriff's Office, and today I'm going to give you a presentation about our monthly events, and then I will go into your concerns with the ATVs. For March of 2021, we had a total of 947 calls for service. We responded to 4 injury accidents, 10 property damage accidents. As far as arrests go, we had 4 OVI arrests. We had a arrest of a female for methamphetamine possession and use of child restraints and driving without a license. She had a child in the car at the time of her arrest. We had one of the males was reckless operation, OVI, weapons while under disability, which means he had a criminal background that prohibited him from carrying a weapon, improper transport of a firearm in a motor vehicle. We had a male arrested for a burglary warrant that was out of state. We had a male arrested for possession of cocaine and marijuana. And then one of our OVIs was a 3rd-degree felony for his repeated offenses. We had a juvenile female that was arrested for aggravated menacing and carrying a concealed weapon. And we had 1 unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. We also responded to 32 alarms, 20 citations for traffic violations, 169 warnings for traffic violations, 10 driving under suspension citations, operating a vehicle while intoxicated, again, 4 business checks. We conducted 88. Crime prevention, we conducted 82, which is vehicles that were lights were on, doors that were left open overnight, things like that. We responded to 16 disturbances, 6 domestic violence incidents, 7 juvenile complaints, 4 noise complaints, 5 neighbor disputes, 2 opiate overdoses, a suspicious circumstance involving vehicles or persons, 25 occasions, 44 theft reports, 28 traffic complaints, 2 vandalism case reports, and 18 welfare checks. And we're seeing a lot more welfare checks and mental health incidents where we're involved to help take care of the situation and make sure that people are getting the treatment that they need. And I have a copy of that for you, sir.
You can just set it right there, Sergeant Falvey. Perfect. Thank you.
And moving on to the traffic violations as far as in your concerns for the ATVs. I wish I could have done a PowerPoint for you. Next time I will. I learned about this a little bit late, but I would have had a nice presentation for you. But I think I'll cover a lot of your aspects that you're looking for. If there's anything you need clarified on or more information on, please let me know, and I will get that information to you. First and foremost, you do need an operator's license to operate an all-terrain vehicle on the roadway. So anything that's defined as a motor vehicle. And a motor vehicle means anything that a mobile home, recreational vehicles that are powered by motor, etc. And I can go into detail with it, but I'm not going to bore you. But you definitely need a driver's license. You have to be 16 years age or older. You can't be riding with your child just because you're present. That's not acceptable. You have to have a driver's license first and foremost. Rules of equipment. Snowmobiles aren't going to be really our concern right now, but off-highway motorcycles and all-purpose vehicles. You have to have at least one headlight affixed to the vehicle, especially if you're going to be driving at night. Daytime, there's an exception. At least one red tail light if you're going to be on the roadway. Adequate brakes and an adequate brake light if you're going to be on the roadway, and you have to follow the same muffler system as you do any other vehicle. It has to be capable of precluding emissions and excessive smoke, exhaust, engine noise, etc. Prohibited acts, what you cannot do while you're on your ATV, as said by the revised code, and you can look these up on the internet. 4519.40. Any operation of a snowmobile, off-highway motorcycle, or all-purpose vehicle, except that no person shall operate a snowmobile, off-highway motorcycle, or all-purpose motor vehicle on any state highway, including limited access highways or freeways with the right-of-way. Therefore, if emergency travel during the time in such a manner of the direction of a public safety official. You cannot ride your your all-terrain vehicle on any private property in any nursery or planting area without the permission of the owner or the person having the right to the possession of the property. So you can get a criminal trespassing charge if you were to ride your ATV on somebody's property or a nursery or a public right-of-way. Any land or waterway controlled by the state, except that those locations where signage is posted permitting those activities. On the railroad tracks right-of-way, which Concord doesn't really have concern for railroad tracks, but if you were, food for thought, you cannot ride on the railroad tracks. While transporting any firearm, bow, or implementing any hunting that is not unloaded or secured or encased on your vehicle. So you cannot be riding on an all-terrain vehicle while your firearm is loaded. For the purpose of chasing, pursuing, capturing, or killing any animals or wildlife, and then from the time of sunset to sunrise, unless you display lights that are required under the section that I previously discussed. There are exceptions to not having a registration on your all-terrain vehicle, and that only applies to somebody who can prove that it's used for agricultural use or farm use. You have to be able to prove that. Otherwise, you have to have a registration for your all-terrain vehicle or your dirt bike. When you go to the BMV and your titling company, they will give you the paperwork that is necessary to affix the documentation to your vehicle. Most vehicles require 2 stickers on each side of the vehicle and a license plate. If you don't have a license plate and these required stickers and you're driving on the roadway, you are in violation and you can be cited. Again, if you are working as an all-purpose vehicle in the capacity of a farming vehicle or an agricultural I can't say it, I'm sorry, vehicle, you can ride on the public roadway only for business purposes without a registration, but do that cautiously and safely. As far as anything that's not considered a motor vehicle, as far as bicycles go, motorized bicycles go, I will say this: you don't need a registration for them, but you can log them with us as far as having a record for your serial number if it was stolen, if it ends up being stolen. That way, when we come across these items abandoned or in the possession of somebody, we can look up your serial number on your bike and determine that it's not whose bike it is, the person who's riding the bike. Also, when you're operating these vehicles, drive with the flow of traffic. Ride your bike with the flow of traffic. And you can ride tandem. I don't recommend it. 2 bikes together, but do that cautiously. Try to do it single file if at all possible. When you are jogging or running, are walking, please walk, jog, and run against traffic. You want to be against traffic. Ride your bikes with traffic, walk and run against traffic. And wear reflective clothing. As far as go-karts go, and mini bikes and dirt bikes, they're not permitted to be on the roadway. They're not considered a motor vehicle. They don't have the proper signals. They don't have the proper lights on them. They're not registered. You can ride those on private property, but they are not permitted on the roadway.
Dirt bikes, no.
Dirt bikes are not technically. There's a lot of definitions with the state ORC as far as what a dirt bike is. There will be a lot of bikes that you'll see on the roadway that look like dirt bikes, but they meet
So look for if they have
specifications.
shingles and stuff like that. Then
Yes.
It's kosher.
And
'Cause
if
I got somebody now that you're saying that I got a neighbor.
And you're technically supposed to have like golf carts, certain bikes, and certain vehicles inspected before you get a registration. So if the bike is on the roadway, there should be a registration.
Okay.
There should be a license plate and there should be a recreation sticker. If they're not, then they shouldn't be on the roadway, and then we can take corrective action. But when you are on the roadway, you have to follow all traffic rules that a typical driver of a vehicle has to, a motor vehicle or a regular car, regular pickup truck, etc., has to follow. If not, you'll be cited for those traffic offenses.
So kind of reflecting on, I think, what Mrs. Lucci said, and just this revelation I had about my young teenager in my neighborhood. Is like, what's a practical, I mean, from a standpoint of the sheriff's department enforcing this stuff in Concord, I mean, is it, you see somebody zip down the street and, fiddling with a bike in the driveway, they buzz down the street back and forth a couple times and they park it. It's like the whole thing. I mean, do you guys, is that something that's like a persistent problem throughout the township, or is it just, how do you respond to that when you get those calls?
So I can tell you from my experience, I looked at it, we had 4 ATV complaints in Concord for the month of March. I can tell you from my perspective over the past 14 years of being on the road patrol, the ATV complaints are not a huge concern in Concord because we don't get them that often.
Okay.
And if so, it's something very, the offense is very slight, if you will. It's not a huge concern. We evaluate each situation and determine the appropriate action. We're not out to get anybody. We usually try to do warnings unless there's some kind of extended circumstance that we have to be involved, or if it's a repeated offense. But if there's a problem area and we go and address it and it continues, then yes, we will look into taking
So we
corrective
should
action.
encourage residents, if there's a persistent issue in a community, that they should just call you guys and can come out and work through it.
That is correct, and we evaluate each situation as it comes. It's too dynamic to give you a broad or an exact way we're going.
Right. Well, it certainly sounds like from months, well, for the year and change that I've been here, that when I listened to the sheriff's report, that the sheriff's department gives far more warnings in Concord Township than it does citations anyway, so that they're already, it's already
that's
evident
true.
that we try to work
Right.
with our community as far as
Oh, absolutely.
getting through this stuff.
Absolutely, we're not out to hinge anybody up. We're out there to try to make safe and just make a statement that we're present and that we're looking out for your well-being. And again, if under certain circumstances, if we like to leave the discretion to the deputies. If they feel that it is not a violation that's worth citing, then we trust them. But they all have common sense. They're all professional. They're all extremely well trained. They know when to cover that threshold. One more thing I would like to address is I am the community liaison for the sheriff's office. It's a rather new position. We started it in January.
Okay.
We're getting a lot of functions going. I want to be a lot more involved with the Concord Township community and a lot more involved with the administration. I also talked to Debbie. We had some conversations. I did not know about the Easter egg hunt, but now she knows to give me this information because we would have had a booth set up. But also what I would like to do this summer is kind of do like, I guess you've heard Coffee with the Cops, but I want to bring it to the neighborhoods. So certain weekends I might throw out, hey, we're going to be in your neighborhood. cook up some hot dogs, have some equipment there, have some of our guys there, meet the people in the community. Also, I'd like to throw out to any township any development administrations as far as your associations or HOAs go. My phone number is 440-350-5598. That goes directly to me. If I don't answer your phone call, leave me a message. And my email is jinfalvey, I-N, F as in Frank, A-L, V as in Victor, I, at lakecountyohio.gov, and email me. I would like to know more about your community. I would like to be involved with your association and your development. And if there's anything that we can do to assist you, please reach out to me. We'll do whatever we can, or any events that you would like to hold, or if there's any safety meetings that you would like, we'll work on that. Also, one other thing we're working on is an Explorers program for our youth, ages 15 to 21. We are nearing the end of getting this prepared, and then we're hoping by midsummer that we're going to start taking applications from these students. That way we can prepare them for development in public safety, for police, not only police but also fire as well. And then they can also help us with a lot of these community events too. We'll also have a nice career path, because if they are successful with us in our program, by the time they're 18, they can get a job in corrections or dispatch with us, or the records division. And by the time they're 21, we're doing lateral transfers now from divisions. They have a good shot at becoming a law enforcement officer on the road patrol. So this is a good way to teach our youth how we want professionalism and ethics and morals in law enforcement and for our communities, and how to work towards that with the sheriff's office and get some good prospects. And with that, if there's no questions, I'm going to give you my cards with my cell phone numbers. I know you reached out to me one time. I was like, yes.
Thanks, Sarge.
Thank you.
You know my
I got you.
I've already got you in the role of it, yeah. We talk
well,
all the time.
It's nice to meet you. It's great to connect. I'm going to give you a final plug. That's exciting to hear about law enforcement exploring. I did that for about 5 years, 6 years. Not locally, I did it in another state, but it's a great program. And even if you don't go into law enforcement, there's a tremendous amount of learning, and it's great community service. So that's exciting for me to hear about that.
Yes, and we're extremely excited about it. So, and the Citizens Police Academy, hopefully in the fall. Once I get this up running, that's what I'm going to move to next.
Okay, fantastic. That's
Thanks.
exciting.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move into the audience portion. Is there, I don't have any guests in person this evening. Is there anybody on virtually that would like to speak or ask the trustees any questions tonight? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to old business, which we don't have any, so we'll get into, I think before we get into the votes, I know I'd like to pick up the conversation that we had in the staff meeting on Friday with respect to the owners reps. We need to, I know we blocked out some time in the calendar later this month to conduct some interviews, and we were having some good dialogue. So for the benefit of anybody that's joining us that isn't following all of the specifics about this, the board has agreed and has been working with the administration to recruit a owner's rep. And what the owner's rep is going to do is act as on behalf of the township and construction manage the project and oversee it. So we'll have this individual, this agency will come in and help us with the sequencing conversation, help us take the project to bid, and then work between the contractor, the architect, and then sort of be the representative of the township. And from what I'm seeing in these proposals, these requests for qualifications, we'll be conducting meetings with administration, with trustees, and giving the community updates. So it's our eyes and ears. It's another layer of monitoring on the project on behalf of the township. And I'd like to maybe confirm with our legal counsel, just to recap this aspect of it. We've put out a request for proposals. So the way that we draft
Request for qualifications.
Well, I'm sorry. That's correct. That's actually what I meant to say.
There's a
Qualifications.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that is going to allow us to move through the process with a little more flexibility than it would be a formal proposal, because we're not evaluating the financial aspect of this, correct?
That's correct. That's correct, Chairman.
So we were at a point where we're going to be giving an opportunity for some of these candidates to interview with the town, with the board, and then we'll be making a decision who will ultimately be our representative in this. So anyway, so I know we were having a conversation, and that Administrator Rose, Hull Engineering is our contract engineer, chief and deputy chief have made a recommendation of a number of the people, and we need to decide who we're going to interview, and we'd had some of that conversation, so I don't know if anybody wants to lead off and what their thinking is at this point, as we work towards, we got a list of 10.
Yeah,
so.
I think it's important. Like I said, we had 10 really complete RFQ packets for owner's rep. And for those that might not know clearly what an owner's rep is responsible for, they're responsible for conveying and protecting the township's goals, specifically for Concord here is the fire station project, okay? Station 1 and 2. They oversee the construction, sort of functions a construction management component for the project, overseeing the project, making sure that they are within budget, that the trades are doing their job that they're supposed to. There's a lot of other responsibilities, but that's what the owner's rep does. And initially, when the 10 RFQs came in, we had a board of some township officials, our administrator, deputy chief, and who else, Mr. Rose?
Bob Parker,
Yeah.
who's our consulting engineer.
Right, our
also
consulting
assisted as
engineer.
well.
Evaluated initially, obviously it's gonna be hard. We've all reviewed all 10 of the application, or the RFQs. Very difficult to interview all 10. So they were tasked with reviewing the packets and sort of giving us a guideline on where they felt that these RFQs that were submitted fell into a certain range. And what they used to evaluate those different companies were one, owner's rep experience, their experience as owner's rep, whether or not they had fire construction experience and what kind of experience that entailed, knowledge of building trades, permitting and commissioning, project manager and key staff experience, location of the firm and of the key staff. So, are the project managers or people on that team, are they close to the project? Are they within the area? If they need to be here, how close can they get here at short notice? The project approach and conformance with, and then cost savings ideas, if any, were presented. Some other areas I thought were key that I sort of picked out on some of these RFQs were, existing relationships that these companies had with contractors in the area. They work with these different contractors, these tradesmen. They have relationships over a period of time, so they know how to work well together. They know whether or not these people, how did they work? Did they perform on within a certain time frame and on budget? They're whether or not they're committed to the community. When I read some of these RFQs, there were some of them that talked about watching our stakeholder meetings to get an idea of what the community input was. Some of them also talked about collaborating with the community and attending trustee meetings to sort of give updates to the community and to get feedback on the project and things of that nature. So all these evaluation guidelines went into effect as far as the initial phase of evaluating these RFQs. And after that, I think our administrator, recommended the top 4 that came into a certain threshold on the evaluation matrix. I don't know if you want me, Mr. Chairman, to get into mine specifically right now.
Well, I think that's a good recap. I think we need to get into conversations. I know that I had said at the staff meeting, 3 stuck out to me kind of coming into the staff meeting, and coincidentally, those 3 were some of the ones that Mr. Rose and Mr. Parker and the fire department was recommending. Ms. Lucci, I don't know if you had any thoughts you want to throw in here as far as who you liked or the process or.
Yeah, so I think, they were all good. They all put a lot of work into the qualifications. I was looking for things that stood out, and what was important for me was finding an owner's rep who I thought would qualify as delivering on that personalized quality service for Concord Township, because this is about our community. So someone that will help present Concord community the best. So I kind of looked for qualities in each of those that I thought I would like to interview just based on what was written. Would you like me to tell you who I?
Yeah, we can get into conversation about the different. I know that. Well, yeah, shoot.
Yeah, so a couple that stood out for me. I actually I think had 4.
Okay.
So I really liked Cold Harbor. I liked the fact that they were local. I liked how they had, mentioned their relationships with subcontractors. I think that's very important, especially with, it's hard to get some, it's hard to get construction material. So I thought maybe that would be, kind of a good relationship. I also liked RFC. I liked how they commented on providing, community focus groups, community input. I think that's, again, extremely important. I also liked QCI. I thought that their platform or their approach to understanding sequencing is very important, and that's very unique to what we are trying to accomplish. And last, I was interested in CT's, how they sort of, they were able to complete a project during a pandemic and stay on budget, and that was very interesting. The fiscal responsibility of this is also extremely important.
Yeah, I liked Cold Harbor as well. It was one that stood out. I think a lot of this stuff, when you think about these things, I mean, there's a lot of qualified firms that presented themselves here, and they all, a lot of them did the same thing. A lot of them with similar backgrounds. So my thought process was, hey, what stands out to me, just kind of in a connection, like a culture thing. What seems like it's gonna be a fit for Concord? I definitely resonated with people that mentioned they watched our meetings, and I think one was either one of the 2 firms that I was interested in had mentioned that they looked at this. They watched one of our meetings, and we had listened to our conversation about sequencing, and I thought that was like, because that's one of the things that, get on board and help us out with that one, was important. Fire station experience, obviously, K2M has a lot of that. That seems to be almost a specialty. I'm looking for somebody that can, I think, be a fit with Concord, like I said, back to culture and sort of, we'll figure that out by interviewing. But it's a contrast to LeMay Erickson. We've got that relationship. We've got a very top-notch architect with a very skilled, very qualified, award-winning. So I think that was a really good decision, not that we made. So this is an opportunity for us to bring something to the table. So I liked RFC. I thought their presentation was very, very professional. I did note that they had saved some substantial money, and I think that's something that would be, obviously, cost of a project this size is important. Cold Harbor was pretty. There's something about that presentation. It seemed real hands-on, and I'd like to interview and see if that seems like it's a fit. Again, I think it was hard to not look at the K2M for their fire station experience.
Yeah, I would agree with with the ones you and Mrs. Lucci picked. I had a harder time. I actually ranked. I liked 5 that I'd like to look at. Again, just touching on some of the things you've already touched on without belaboring it, but Cold Harbor, I liked. They're local, they're hands-on. I actually know somebody that worked on a project with them, and gave them accolades about how hands-on they were, attention to detail. They had great relationships. They collaborated well with the trades. They were on budget. When there was a problem, they got it remedied in a quick manner. So I liked that. Couple of the other ones, K2M, I like them a lot. They worked on, they have vast experience with, townships, municipalities, counties. They worked on several municipal buildings, fire station projects, police station projects, some of which, that I've been in. They have an extensive amount of experience. RFC out of out of Strongsville I really liked. They have 25 years construction experience again. A lot of experience with fire stations. They did the Strongsville fire station. I've been in that facility. They rehabbed the Strongsville, I believe, the police department. I've been in that facility. City of Willoughby Fire Department. They did an excellent job there.
So, yeah, and that station in Strongsville was a headquarters station too.
Yes. They got a lot of experience with fire stations, they were, they have operated on projects going from $1 million to $120 million in a budget, and they've always seemed to stay on budget or come in under budget.
Right.
So they have a lot of experience with that. Another one I liked, my fifth one I liked was QCI. I mean, they've been in business 35 years. They got a lot of technical staff and professionals. They worked on some local projects. They were involved in Crocker Park, which was a huge facility out in Westlake. But they've had some experience with municipal and public service entities. So I like that. There was one, I don't know if it was QCI or RFC, that also had a fire station matter expert. Was that RFC?
I think it's
Or QCI. They actually had one of their team members that was involved in, it was a fire station matter.
I think that was QCI.
Was it QCI?
Was it QCI? That's what I thought. But he actually had somebody that was hands-on with, which was a fire station project matter expert. So that was nice to see. But they all had a great amount of experience. Obviously, I think it's going to be important for us to bring in an owner's rep that we have a connection with, that we can have obviously foster a relationship over the years that this project is forecasted to go out, and at the same time somebody that's able to work well with the trades and the construction entities on the project, and able to connect with people within the community as far as what we're doing, where we're at, listen to input, have some dialogue. So, I would, my recommendation would be to look at maybe interviewing the top 5. I think it's important.
I would go with that.
Okay. So if I'm hearing correctly, then that's QCI, Cold Harbor, CT, K2M, and RFC.
Correct.
Is that correct, Administrator? Okay, and we have you blocked out some time. I think, is it Tuesday next?
What was discussed at
Oh,
the staff meeting was
Wednesday.
Wednesday the 14th at 5, and Friday the 16th at 5.
Right.
I'm thinking 30 to 40 minute blocks to do the interviews.
Okay.
These will be, my recommendation is a Q&A interview. I don't think we need to have, in my opinion, and I think we talked about this during when Chief, Deputy Chief, and Mr. Parker, we don't need them to come in and give a presentation on their presentation that they've already sent to us electronically.
Right.
I think they need to come in, do some quick introductions, have some standardized questions, and then go from there. Is my recommendation.
I guess I'm anticipating a lot of dialogue, a lot of Q&A.
There will be during the Q&A.
Grab stuff out of the presentation and
Yes.
tell us more about this, explain that kind of a thing. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I will get special meeting notices out for Wednesday, April 14th. We'll do these at the community center where we've got a little bit more space. So we'll meet there, and we'll get these meetings advertised appropriately.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. On to the new business. We have a handful of voting, or the March finances are tabled, correct?
It's tabled, yes, sir, until Mrs. Dawson gets back.
We'll return for that, or we'll have Mrs. Dawson's return for the next vote. So we'll move on to item B.
I move to vote on Resolution 2021-05 authorizing participation in the ODOT winter contract or road salt.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve the service department accept all bids for stone, asphalt, concrete, and limestone.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move to vote, approve administrative department award mowing and landscape maintenance of Concord Township properties and cemeteries to Lake Erie Shores Contracting in the amount of $57,063.
I'll second.
Okay, and before I just do the vote, I wanted to reiterate or remind that this was due in fact to that our current landscaper declined their renewal.
They did.
Yes,
They
and
declined their renewal due to
Staffing.
staffing, yeah.
Right.
And we're hearing that a lot.
And we're stuck, and this was the only qualified response that we received.
That is correct.
All right.
The other bid was deemed non-responsive.
And
you.
so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve Fire Department Connor Bachman promotion to part-time regular status firefighter paramedic effective April 1st, 2021.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to approve fire department motion to purchase order to Motorola Solutions in the amount of $13,166.80 for the purchase of portable radios. Mark's grant.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to approve purchase order to Atwells for $17,000 for uniforms.
I second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Future meetings announcement, Mr. Rose, I see.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh. Wednesday, April 14th, 2021 at 5 p.m. at the Concord Community Center. The trustees will hold a special meeting for the purpose of interviewing owners rep candidate firms. Wednesday, April 14th at 7 p.m. Board of Zoning and Appeals will be meeting here at Town Hall. On Friday, April 16th, 2021 at 5 p.m. will be the second special meeting held by the trustees at the Concord Community Center for the purpose of interviewing owners rep candidates pursuant to the RFQ submissions. And Wednesday, April 21st, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. will be trustee office hours, and at 7:30, the regular trustee meeting here at Town Hall. And that concludes the meetings and future announcements.
All right, and if there's no further discussion, I will adjourn a very productive trustee meeting.
Good evening.
Thank you.
There's everything that you voted on needs to be signed, please.